invite Zarni to quickly wrap up and please.
Just before I forget, after lunch, some of you who may be keen to get down to work, we plan to have a proper strategy discussion, brainstorming what kind of actions that can be undertaken within Korea and what kind of activities may be pursued within the larger Asian context, and also in coordination with our colleagues and fellow activists across the world. And so if you can donate, essentially 2 hours of your time, we can have that discussion after lunch. Wrapping up, well, the first thing I want to point out is that this conference draw a large number of predominantly women activists from different religious and professional backgrounds, and the majority of speakers are women. And this is the first time that a Rohingya conference, a conference on Rohingya, is constituted by women's voices. And they don't come here just to jerk tears and tell sob stories, but they come here providing a real strong intellectual input. And so that to me, this conference marks a departure in terms of where the free Rohingya activism around the world will be heading. And secondly, I did mention yesterday, but didn't get to read the statements. When Doreen, Catherine, and other activists raised, or professionals raised this issue, that our work has to be anchored around and guided by what Rohingyas demand, need, and want. And so we have two brief statements coming from Cox's Bazar. Today, Rohingya civil society is in Cox's Bazar. Yeah? They are the ones who have stalled these, bilateral repatriation schemes drawn up, signed, and executed unsuccessfully by both Dhaka and Naypyidaw. So we need to recognize the role of refugees in Cox's Bazar. Unfortunately, none of them can travel here. And thirdly, I think the issue of tokenism, the Rohingya representative dining with President Obama over, eat meal, or another Rohingya representative given only 2 minutes to talk about 40 years of genocide on a par with an NGO representative at the UN Human Rights Council, and then the Dutch chair cut him off because he went over 2 minutes. Yeah? And then recently, the same Rohingya representative, or the leader, as the writers, the news agency has manufactured him, was brought in to meet with Donald Trump, and he, I assume, that repeated what his minders, like Humanitarian Dialogue or others, have coached him to tell Donald Trump. And Rohingya representative asking Donald Trump, "Do you have any plan, to rescue us?" It's as if Donald Trump was this wacky messiah, And then Trump responded with the most pathetic statement. Where exactly is, essentially, where exactly is Bangladesh or Myanmar? And then so, I think this is very important because I lived and worked as an activist and academic in the U.S. for 17 years, yeah? And I was, with no self-importance or delusion, I was the leading Burmese activist in the U.S. for a long time. I never testified before any congressional committees, yeah? Because the powerful institutions do not want agency, do not want voices from oppressed community that can articulate intellectual vision or strategic analysis or offer serious and practical recommendations. They want us to come and cry before the cameras, and the rest is to be left in the hands of policy wonks and other neo-colonialists. And so this conference, makes a break. And finally, I think we put the current genocide within the larger context of atrocity crimes that have taken place, during and since the Second World War, and then we fundamentally question the sanctity of nation states. And as Yang He Lee rightly and scathingly called the United Nations, as an institution that has deviated or failed to discharge its original charter and the vision for the people. And so now, it's incumbent upon we the people. We are basically, we constitute this world, not nation states. Humans preceded before these social and political organizations were invented. We are the masters of institutions that we created. It's like computers. Yeah? We created the computer. Artificial intelligence. We create the artificial intelligence. Yeah? So we must not abrogate, or we must not give up the power we have, and we must not be indifferent. Yang He Lee also said, the ASEAN has a principle that it pursues. It is a principle of indifference. The Security Council is broken. The leadership of the United Nations Secretariat, starting with Antonio Guterres, is failing. So therefore, it is so important that we, the people of Asia, step up to the plate. We cannot call this an Asian century because China is going to become a number one economy in the world, followed by Japan and South Korea. It's not enough to have a lot of money, not enough to have Samsung phones and high-tech and robotic technology. We cannot assume the leadership of the entire world when we do not have a consciousness for the climate change, when we do not have a consciousness or sensitivity toward large-scale sufferings of our fellow humans, whether they are Asians or Africans or Americans or Latin Americans. Therefore, the conference is designed as a call to arm. We must unite because the states are united against us, we the people. So therefore, we the people must unite against immoral, indifferent, and pathological states. That is the takeaway that I take myself. I get from this, and I hope this will be your takeaway as well. Thank you very much, and thank Kinam and his team. Thank you.